When I started Powerline Podcast in 2019, I had a small journal with some goals in it. And goals included the guests or a list of guests that I would like to have on the show and like to interview. Well, Duke Austin's name was on that list. He's obviously, if you're from the Quanta family, you know who Duke Austin is. He's the CEO of Quanta Services. Quanta Services is a Fortune 200 company. Probably the largest, if it is the largest, craft labor company in North America. Anyway, super excited to have Duke on the show. It was a great interview, great conversation, really. Not so much an interview, but a conversation. And I think you guys are going to get a ton of value from it. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, Duke, I kind of wanted to open this podcast by thanking you first off. When I started with Quanta in 2010. Obviously, you know the story. I came over when my father and mother sold their company. And it was when I came to Quanta Services, the world of line work, the door got kicked wide open for me. Like, we were just small company, small town, grinding it out, in BC. When I came to Quanta, I got the door kicked open. All of a sudden I got access to world travel, whether it was a major storm or hurricane. I got to travel around. I went for 2 hurricanes on the East Coast, like almost right away, which was like super cool. Never thought that would happen. And then bare hand trained, hung under helicopters, like got to work at the Lazy Q, the world's like greatest line work facility. Just so much opportunity. And it was really Quanta Services that provided that and you that provided that. So I just want to say thanks for the opportunities, for myself and my family. Super special.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I think we see 350 or so family businesses. I knew your dad well. The characteristics are all the same for the most part. Hardworking. We're all underdogs. It's great. It's fun to be here, and I'm glad we can make a difference in people's lives, and mine included.
Okay, so in your own words for the audience, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Duke Austin, CEO of Quanta Services. 4 children. I care deeply about 3 boys that are in the business here, twins. They're all in the field. And then I have my daughter that's a senior in high school. She's about to graduate. Hopefully she'll get in the business as well. And I tried to keep them from kind of getting in the family business, or I can still consider it a family business. But look, I'm not going to tell them they can't come, and they're here. So I embraced it. And I do think for me, the family aspect of this and who I am is like kind of what you leave behind. And so you want your children to be better than you are. So hopefully they get after it and work hard at it.
I love that. From my observation, we were just talking a little bit beforehand, you're a guy that works in the shadows. Like I was saying, I was looking online for Shane Kimbrough, astronaut, obviously, like a whole wiki page and hours of video footage of him. I started doing some research just to have this episode. Like, I know you a little bit, but I don't know you that well. So I'd like to just like start from the beginning, almost like I do with a lot of my guests, just like, where are you from?
Sure. No, for me, I think, so from humble beginnings, my dad was a lineman for HLMP, my granddad and great-granddad for that matter. But grew up hard. We grew up with our hands, and I think for me, it was always about, my dad always said when we got the business, he said he could drive a Crown Victoria. It cost as much as a Cadillac, but no one ever saw him. And I still live by that today. It doesn't matter. When I think about me and where I sit and what I'm able to do, I can do a lot more behind the scenes. If I have to get out in front, I will. I've done it in Puerto Rico. I've done it in places where it's needed, but I do believe we serve the customer, and I serve every single employee of Quanta Services, and for that matter, the trade. If we can impact safety, if I can do things like that, and sometimes being in the back is much better than being in the front, and you can do a lot more back there. But the company's getting bigger, and I've got to do more and get in front of it. And it's not because I'm concerned with it; it's because it's by design. And I do believe We are a humble company for what we do, and we serve the client, serve the people. I always say that the corporate office, for us, we're here to support the field, 100%. That's who we work for every day. And we can't do it if we're out. If I'm on CNBC and Kramer yelling about how great we are, it's just not impactful. I can do it much better in the background.
Describe what you mean by growing up hard.
Yeah, so I think anytime you're a son and your dad's a lineman, you just grew up a little different. I would tell you, my dad had his best friends were in the trade, and when he started Northeastern Powerline, there was 10 people that left HLMP that came with him to ultimately run Northeastern Powerline and then eventually acquire it. But those 10, were very close to our family, and I was with them every weekend. So, look, I mean, I got tied up. They've tried every knot on me under the moon and everything you can possibly think of. But mainly work ethic was extremely important, and our family still is. And then just up early, out late, and do what you need to do. I think the more work you put in, the farther you can go. And when I think about my life and my kids and everything else and how they're raised, the impacts that you can make when they're young, you can do so much more. And I think the impacts on me was my father taught me young how to work and, how not to be scared. And, I can tell you story after story. He was kind of, to me, like Red Adair of the oil field business and the line business. He just, he came up with his hands. It's tough. The trade was much tougher generationally back, and we were a contractor at that point. I think we're a solutions provider today, but back then we had 3 overhead crews, and we had a rain out. If we had a rain out, that would mean that everyone was going to go get drunk and come in and start fights in the yard. And I would see my father rolling around the yard more than not. So I think when you grow up in that, nothing really, everything we've done today to try to make sure that we're better and the trade's thought of differently than it used to be, but it was all done early by the people, like my dad, your dad, all the families that are in here. I think all of us as kids can look back and go, it was tough. It was tougher than it is today. Not to say it's easy today, but it was damn tough.
Just different, right?
Just different.
Yeah.
It was different. Not, you're right. I wouldn't say tougher. I'd say different. That's a good word.
That's an important thing for people to grasp onto is if the opportunity is there, it doesn't mean don't have to work for it. So the opportunity could be there, and how you create opportunities is to work extremely hard for it, right? Not even knowing where it's going to end up. Yeah. You say you grew up around linemen, and I myself grew up around linemen. Right. Mother and father, small company would often have to have, they wouldn't be able to pay per diem, so they'd have linemen come stay. So mom would work at the business all day long, take care of the kids, then feed linemen and give them a place to live, Sure. And I just grew up around the stories and around linemen and seeing how it was quite different.
My mother worked for Southwestern Bell, so when my father came over, she was softer, I would say, than God. And then so just kind of added more to the company and us included. So we grew up the same way. Northeastern Powerline was a $7 million company when I got there. We were in a 4-bedroom home. My office with my dad when I came into the office, and my mom was on the other side, and that was it. And we just made it work every day. So that's crazy.
I was always around. Line work was never something I wanted to do till after high school. I kind of got pulled aside by a foreman. He slapped me on the side of the head. So you recognize the opportunity that you're giving up by giving this up. But being growing up around it, you're always in the shop, in the yard, sweeping floors, cleaning toilets, stocking bucket trucks.
For sure.
I've heard on other interviews you started as a grunt at NHPL.
Well,
explain that.
For sure. I mean, we just every summer. So I was probably 14. Worked the summers. It would be anywhere from cleaning shops to whatever it may be, and just stayed with it. Stayed with my father. We did a lot of things together. Obviously, trying to make ends meet, and ultimately, I ended up playing football at Sam Houston, and so then I came right back into the business with my dad. But it was something that I knew I was going to do my whole life, and I value those experiences. I think they make you who you are, and some people, you got to fail at times to get better, and I think we had failures, and I've had failures. I've seen people hurt and fatalities, and never want to see that again. And my dad lost his best friend in the 80s, and I'll never forget it. It was on Thanksgiving, and I know exactly what he was doing. And open water secondaries cut him down. He didn't like what how the grunt was cutting him down. And it was a general foreman, wasn't supposed to be a pole. Put his tools on, got off the pole, got in series, and it was a fatality. And I remember it in my home, having to tell that lady. And I was like, I'll never want to see that again, ever in my life. And I think we try to do everything around that, but those experiences affect you and make you who you are. And I think that's why we can make a difference in the trade. Look, we have funding and we have a lot of different things to be able to help, like AEDs, and just trying to make the trade better, push people to help the guys in the field and the ladies in the field. I'm going to sleep at night knowing I've done everything I can, everything. Because it's that important. So, and that's because of all the things that have happened in the past.
Yeah, I talk quite a bit on the podcast about apprentice-master relationship, and when you look back at craft labor back into the ages, you can go back to like building swords and armor and things like that, and that intimate relationship that apprentice and masters had. What's your take on apprentice-master relationship in today's world?
I mean, I think we've seen that degrade a bit, where not part of it's the work itself, and part of it is the way we are as an industry. We're in shortage of people. And when I think about it, the difference between a journeyman and the last step apprentice is ability to train. And I think at some point no one says that's your job as a journeyman, is to train. And I never hear that much. And I do think that's an important aspect, and the responsibility of a JL is to train. And we should say it and be happy and be proud. Be proud of that, and be proud of the person because really the future of the industry is the person that's the craftsman today, in their ability to train. And always, if you think about it like a tree trunk and how it gets bigger where the roots go deeper. And like, I think I can go back to North Houston and think about the 3 people that were there, and now all the people that are there today somehow are tied to those 3.
Yeah. And
I hopefully in Quanta, I really want to create that. I think it's important, and we're starting some things there on that that I believe will ultimately help us to identify that lineage and how we continue to make sure that we train better and better, and it needs to come back in the trade.
I love the point you brought up, and I want to drive that home for anyone paying attention to this. It is your responsibility as a journeyman. So many journeymen like shuck that off. Like it's not my, they just do this to apprentices, like piss off. Like they were never an apprentice before. And it's like, it's your responsibility to train them. It can't all be their responsibility. In a way, it's the apprentice has to be, do your part and be willing to learn, be in there, work hard, head down, ass up. But that's a really great point. Like it is our responsibility.
I do think the pre-apprentice programs, I've watched it, and obviously we've invested in it. We're giving the journeyman lineman today a different person. And I always go back to is if they can drive a truck, if they can already climb, if they can already do some things and they're not having to teach those things, they're no longer dumb. They're not longer stupid. I had this argument with my father. He would say, well, the kids are soft and they don't know what the hell they're doing. The game change oil. Well, is that on them or is that on us? Because if we're not teaching them, they don't know. And I think we all get busy in life. And if you go back and look at what you taught your kid, did you teach them to change the oil? Did we show them how to start a mower? Did we? No, because lots of times we were too busy, or we were on a job, or we were working 7 days a week. So I think about it like that. It's on us. Like we have to think differently. I think these pre-apprentice programs will certainly help the trade. The kids that come through there on our pre-apprentices, they're 90% likely to be a craftsman. That says something. The industry's in 50.
Yeah.
So I do think that makes a difference, and we should all invest in that.
Yeah. How when I look at my career, even, and yours as well, obviously more too, but like I've done so many different things in this trade and in this industry, you know, right from apprenticeship to JL to like instructor to podcaster, like all within the same industry. I've heard you speak about building a career now in this industry. Speak to that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I think I go back to my father, and I would say anything's possible. And we really want to take craftsmen and move them all the way through, and they can have my job. I watched one of the reasons my father left the power company is because they decided that if you didn't have a college education, you could only get to an operations director. You couldn't go to a VP anymore. You couldn't go to a COO anymore. You couldn't be a CEO. I disagree, firmly disagree with that. And I think we give you every opportunity as a craftsman to be every bit as good as a guy from Harvard. They're treated probably better than the guy from Harvard, honestly. And I know that can happen. I'm watching it. And we want to make sure we instill everything with our people and make sure we identify the people that want to do it, for one. I mean, not everyone wants to do it.
100%.
But some people want to move up. And we want to make sure you can either be, you can go to Energized Services and, barehand 500 if you want, or you can be the CEO if you want. It's a choice. And if we say that our nucleus is built around craft skill labor, then is it or not? And like, we got to put our money where our mouth is. And I'm not up here just saying it and like it looks good. Oh, it's fun. We're just going to placate to craft and say, oh yeah, no. It's very serious. And we want to make sure that the craft of this country is the nucleus of Quanta.
Switch gears a little bit. I want to dive into a little bit about the origins of Quanta Services. I had a guy text me or DM me the other day, and he listens to me. So he shot me this photo of an InfoSource truck, and it says a Quanta Services company on the bottom, right? And he was like, hey, I hear you talk about Quanta on your podcast all the time. It's the first time I've seen a truck, So like, it's amazing to me, because I've been in the world for so long, the Quanta world, that there's still a lot out there that don't know about Quanta, don't know it exists. So let's go back to the origins of Quanta Services and tell me how it came about.
Yeah, so back in the early days of Quanta, let's call it 1999, some would say 98. I think there was a vision that the jobs were getting bigger as a local company. You couldn't really handle them. So John, our founder, Colson, had foresight to kind of look at it and say, hey, we're going to consolidate, and ended up doing a roll-up as a $198 million company at the time. And that was really to serve bigger projects and things around the country. And, it's evolved quite a bit into multiple family companies. I think we've bought the very best companies in the world. And we value the people. When I look at an evaluation of a company any given day, I always look at the people. Everyone has a reason for selling. I think with my family, we would have probably we were in Houston. Quanta wanted to come in Houston, and we were doing great. We were about to get in the transmission business. We were just distribution and gas, and primarily we did a lot of things, but very light transmission. And I got cancer when I was 31. And I'm part of the business at that point in time with my dad. And I was the only son. I was the only child. I had 3 babies in diapers. And so that's a whole nother story. But I would just say, like, when you have to face death, it's real. And you decide where you're at in life. And one of the things that we needed to do was shore up my kids and our family. And so we didn't even put it for sale. We went and called John and just said, hey, this is what's going on. And we closed the deal in like 30 days. But I look back on that and look, I fought it for about 5 years, had a transplant 17 years ago. And I'm here every day. It's a blessing. I wake up, I'm happy. I want to do something good for someone. And it's hard to get a smile off my face. It makes reality set in. There's a bigger purpose than just anything you can think of when you face death. And anyone that has cancer out there, you can beat it. You just have to have a mindset, and don't let them tell you got days to live. because that's just a stat, and you can be an outlier in the stat. I got told all that. I'm well past dead, so according to stats. So look, I do think when I think about where I'm at now, like an underdog here, we shouldn't. I don't really feel like I'm running a $20 billion company. I don't at all. And the company will be bigger. It'll be 30. And it'll be 40. I don't know. I mean, sky's the limit of what's possible if we get people all pulling the rope the same way. But those beginnings and those things about Quanta, like why people sell to Quanta, they sell mainly because they want to do better for their people. And we don't sell companies. So we really keep them thrive, and all the people get opportunities. And I think that's what the key to it is we can take a $50 million company and make them $500 million. And that nucleus is there. Everybody wins. I get told a lot on people that are employee owned. Well, we're employee owned. We give 7,000 people here a year stock. Well, aren't we employee owned? So we're probably the biggest employee-owned company in the
Never thought
world.
about that.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, people don't realize it, but
Yeah.
if you've held this stock, and we give a lot of it out, if you keep it, you've done well, and I'm proud of that. I've had mechanics that in places, and even our own company in North Houston, they've kept their stock the whole time. Those guys are millionaires. It's great. I love it.
That is
Fantastic.
amazing. Yeah, I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
It is. It makes you feel good.
That's that's super neat. How on earth did you go from grunt to CEO of a Fortune 200 company, and what happened in that gap?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of people. I'd put my head down for one thing and worked at it, but I think you learn a lot about the business, right time, right place, and then take advantage of when you're there. I look at it like you got to think a little different. You got to want it a little more than someone else. But I think when I see people today, you have people that they get in front too fast, and they're not patient, and they want your job tomorrow, and that's probably not going to happen. I mean, I spent 20 years getting mentored by my father. We were a small company and grew bigger, so I had 20 years of experience of just growing things and doing stuff. And I've taken the same principles through every. I started at North Houston. My dad stayed and ran it. I came over here in 2009. I ran gas pipeline and the Houston Electric Ops, and then went to COO and now here. But in every single role, I think I looked at it and just tried to do my best, but it never changed who I was. And then I remember it vividly. My father, he'd buy a new pair of shoes and have slacks on his suit. It was nothing for him to jump in the mud.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I always took that approach. That's all I know. Get in the mud. And I think I want to fight the fight with everyone and not be sitting up here and these glass windows do nothing. There's only 400 people here at corporate, and hey, it's a great place. I love what we do here, but I would say where it's at is in the field, and where I prefer to be is out in the field and fighting the fight. It's something that I think if you want to move up, anyone can do it. Here, it's just work and want to. And I tell my sons the same thing because I don't that they should be given nothing. They got to come early, stay late, and learn every day. And the more they learn, the more that they make themselves invaluable. It's the guy that gets the coffee the fastest every morning for the superintendent. Do you think he's not going to talk to you?
Yeah. Yep.
But if you come in 5 minutes before it starts, he's too busy. If you come in an hour before and give him coffee, what are you going to learn that day?
Yeah.
I was always taught to come in early, learn as much as I could. And I think those lessons and the mentors I had, John, my dad, many, many others that have helped me along the way, learn the business, learn the public side of the business. They did it because, we were there. I wanted to learn, and they were willing to teach. And I really try to make sure I'm doing the same, and I ask all of our people to get someone under you that wants to learn and teach them, because your legacy is not what you do. It's what you leave behind.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. And even with Quanta.
Great, valid points. Like, I think this it scales right down to the bottom level. I've talked about this a few times where I say for apprentices especially, or pre-apps, I said, find a sponsor. Like, do everything you can for that leader in front of you or the leader in front of him. That's not brown nosing. It's not being like, it's not for all the wrong reasons, for the right reasons. Just do everything you can in your power to make their life easier. And they're going to take notice of that. And then guess who's on the next job that they get on? Or when they're a GF, they need a grunt or an apprentice or a good lineman. They're going to remember you. I've seen it so many times, and it's such great advice. But I think youngsters especially, or call them youngsters, but like this current generation, they want things like super, super fast. And I get it because the world's moving a little faster, it seems like. But there's something in patience and work ethic, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is faster. I don't know. Like, just look at what we're doing and how much you can broadcast out. I mean, we could have never done this like before, and look at what's possible. So I think you have to think about it in light. I mean, it's just moving. The industry's moving too, and really, really fast with all the things that are going on there. But for young people getting into trade, it's invaluable to get that experience. Like, I can't say it enough. Like, take the time to get the experience, and the fruits of your labor will come if you just take the time to learn. And it's hard. Like, hey, look, you can YouTube how to do line work, right? Just go try it. You can probably figure it out until you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Until you have to stand there, tie a knot, turn around, tie the same knot.
Exactly. And so you can't just YouTube everything. So we really have to think about, how do we teach? Do we teach a little different? We're also talking about competency-based things and things like that I don't know where I'm at on it. We're working on different things to try to expedite certain things, but it's invaluable for the time in the field.
Yeah. What are some things, we want to talk about some things that Quanta's doing to support blue collar craft labor. So first off, like, I heard you talk about the people. We talked about people on this episode already. Explain why people are important to you, important to Quanta.
I mean, that's who we are. I think the numbers are the numbers, but the people underneath, like, they're driving us at the center. We sell, basically craft skill labor and equipment's easy. So really it boils down to, how effective are we generationally in creating, talent and craft talent. When a client calls and asks us if we can build something, if craft's not behind us, we can't build it. One of the reasons that construction-led engineering, the things that we're doing from a solution, people can't, if you're an engineering firm and you say, I can build it, who are you going to build it with? Me? Well, I don't want to. I don't want to show up today. I don't know if anyone's ever built a barn or home or whatever else. Try to get that done on time.
Yeah.
And see how it works out. It's not so great. We really want to value our craft and make sure that we show up and deliver. And that's a two-way street. We have to work with our unions. We have to work with our non-unions. We have to work with everyone to make sure that we're all on the same page and that it's give and take. Because, like, we want to pay at the high end of the wage scales. We want to make sure we incentivize the proper way. I think it's important to me to not to do these things on a whim, and we don't want to build a thing off someone's back. We want everyone to get more. But it is a balance, and there's times where things get tough. But if we treat people the right way, I do believe it's a partnership that you can value and move forward with. But labor is something that we've got to continue to think about. What is, when we say world class, what does that mean? Like, when we say who's the best, my dad and I used to talk about who the best was, and sometimes it's not the fastest.
Yep.
And just because that guy's the most productive, it didn't mean he didn't tear up every piece of equipment we had, and his incident rates were through the chart. We used to value that a lot more than we do today, where, like, sometimes you have to look at the whole thing and, how are they teaching the next guy? So I think it's a big process, and, we're going through things now to where, are we incentivizing a foreman to top to top someone out? Are we incentivizing a foreman to let his head lineman go be a foreman? Are we? I doubt it. So should we? How do we do that? Because if I'm a foreman and I have a great head lineman, I really don't want to let him go. And my job's a little easier every day if I gotta get one.
Yeah.
And so those things we gotta like come to grips with that as a company and as an industry, and how do we incentivize it?
Yeah, because it's tough for that. It's tough for that foreman to let that person he trusts go, right? And just trust that he's gonna like, what is he gonna get from the hall or from wherever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I always say, like, I mean, if the second you can find someone to do your job, it frees you up to do a bigger job.
Correct.
And I think we all need to think through that. And like, if I can find someone to do my job, then I can probably move up to the next level. And that's how I look at it.
I think it seems like there's always been a little bit of like negative connotation around blue collar, or blue collar or craft labor. Like, it's just like, parents say, hey, go to college, go to university, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be the engineer, something like that, right? Why should the country or be paying more attention to craft labor or blue collar as something viable?
Well, I would say, like, this is a blue collar company at the heart, and you just outperformed Apple for the last 7 years. So what are we?
There you go.
I mean, I look back on it and say that you were valuable, and we built it. We together have built the company into something that much different than it was 10 years ago. We're solution providers. We're doing the things that are smart, and it should allow everyone to hopefully everyone's gotten better and better wages, and we're safer. I feel like we've made huge strides in it, and I watch it every day, but I do think the strides that we made over the last 10, we can make the same strides over the next 10. And I would say blue collar may turn into white collar, and the white collar of the world may, with what you're doing with AI and some of the things like that, I'm not sure I've seen anything that can set a pole in the backyard yet. I'm not sure I've seen anything that can wire a 3-pot bank up yet. So until I see that, I think we got a long way to go. The craft's going to be valued, continue to be valued more and more, and we just got to be patient with it. And always say, greedy hog chokes. Stay right down the middle, and we'll treat everybody right. And as long as we do that, the runway is long, and everyone's going to do very well.
Why is safety important?
Look, I mean, safety to me, it's my job. I like to get everyone home every day, and I feel it. And it's no different than driving your car or anything else. I mean, you're not going to get there that much faster driving 5 miles an hour more. It's just not gonna matter. But I do think, to me, it's not. It's just getting these families home every day. I know I've seen too many incidents where leaving children without a dad. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to do that. And I want to make sure that's what we do as a company. We don't take chances, shortcuts. There's nothing more important than getting home to those families every day. Nothing. And, having fought cancer and everything else, thinking about leaving my children, I can't say it enough, is like we value that, and we should always invest in it. I think the investments we've made, and I know we're doing some things with driving where it'll be controversial. I'm fine with that. We're not trying to fire anybody. We're having problems with wrecks and vehicle accidents and things like that. We're hurting people. So you're forced to take every advantage. We know that what the data says when you put cameras in a truck. It says we're going to get 60-70% safer. I'm sorry, that's what it says. Look, we get 60-70% safer without cameras. I'm happy to take them out. I don't care. I mean, but if anything that we can do as a company to make sure, and it's an investment, and it's not cheap. AEDs, we're probably $40 million into AEDs, and we didn't have to do that. But if I'm not going to invest in my people, and we're not going to invest in AEDs, we've saved 35 lives, internal, and then more on the public. What's that worth? I get asked that all the time. Well, how much? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But that investment in our people has to be done, and I want them home every day. And I think it wears on you, and you think about it every day. And I always say it's better today. But normally when I was growing up in the field, like if I saw that safety guy's number, I knew it was bad. Like it was bad. Today I see his number, and it's normally it's not bad. I'm not saying I don't see it, but normally it's not bad. So you can sleep a lot better every day.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to make sure.
There's no value. I had a fellow on the podcast a couple weeks ago, Noah Edmonds, veteran, 2 tours in Afghanistan. Second tour messed up his head pretty bad. He came back, ended up buying a bread route off his uncle. But for a messed up vet, spending 8 to 10 hours in a truck by yourself every day, he found himself on the edge of his bed alone one night, gun to his head, and he had started listening to this podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
And had a baby boy on the way.
Yeah.
And he said those 2 things, thinking about his son and thinking about a different way and a different career. He quit the bread route, sold it, and pursued his ass off. And he's in the trade now. Yeah. He's a 2nd or 3rd step apprentice, loving life, 4th kid, like saved his life.
Yep.
And like you just can't put a price on.
No, you can't.
Like it's worth all.
We've seen quite a bit of uptick after COVID and everything in suicide. We're working. There's a group out of Australia we're working with to come into the States for the trade, for the industry, not just us. We have that happen in hotel rooms. People are alone. I would ask, like, those crews they know something's not right. And then, it's all of our jobs. If we see it, we see it here. I see people that that day they're down about something. And don't be scared to say, what's wrong? You okay? And if that means a phone call me and I'll take it. We got to do a better job as human beings and value each other a little bit. And I think if you're working for us and you're working on these crews, these camps are tough. When I think about Canada too, you could probably tell me a little bit. The incident rate in Canada is so much less than the U.S. We've done all kinds of data analysis on it because I want to know why are we safer in Canada, and the conditions are sometimes rougher than we are in the U.S. So if you go back and look at fatality rates and incident rates in Canada, it's minimal compared to the rates here. People don't have fatalities very often in Canada. People don't get hurt very often in Canada. And I think a lot of it has to do with the camps. You become closer. You talk about the work every day. You plan your work a little better. It's remote, but still the remoteness also causes, you're on ice, you're on all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing that we're a border apart, and that safety is valued a little different from one to the other. And I don't really have the answer. I always think through it.
There is a mega cultural difference, even within the industry, Canada versus the United States. I spent enough time in both, just in the trade, in the industry. There's definitely a culture difference. I don't know if I have any answers. Doing things like this, talking about it. This is one thing I've always really thought was amazing about line work is more than any of the other trades, it's so transient. So I thought it advanced our trade. I don't know if this is fact or not, but how you could take somebody from Northern Canada and all of a sudden they're working in Georgia the next day, or Florida or something. And you get to transfer that knowledge and skills and pass something on. But that's happening all the time. Next to a plumber or a carpenter, you don't really see that or have that.
Agreed.
You're more local.
Agreed.
Right? I always thought that was special.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, but there's definitely a cultural difference.
Yeah, it'd be good to get feedback on that at some point.
Interesting. What other things is Quanta doing to support safety, change safety?
Yeah, I mean, we've invested in colleges, and I do think military into those colleges. If you're coming out of military, I've said this before, you're fighting that same fight that we fight every day. It's the same one, and we're in those trenches, and the things that we're doing are very, very similar. You've got a battalion, or you've got the people that you work with every day in the military come back in, you're same here. So I do think it resonates with someone coming out of military. So those colleges are important to, get apprenticeships, do scholarships. We're doing things out the Lazy Q. I think there was when we made that investment there was really about, we wanted more culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to, be able to train someone. Always say, if you want to be a brain surgeon, you have to go and work on people's brains, right? If you want to go and energize services, you've got to go work on and practice, and not practice, but train on energized conductor. And if you can never do it in a format, so that facility, we're real proud of that, and all the people that are out there and what they've done. I do think they are the brain surgeons of line work, and I think we can teach as far as you want to go in the trade up. We can get you there, and then from there, like, where can you go? You can take my job, but wherever you want to go, those facilities and how we get people in the trade. It's not CAS test. You hear about aptitude tests and things like that. We know characteristics of kids in inner cities or kids on farms and anywhere else. Like if you work after school or you play a team sport, you're like 80% likely to come into the trade and do very well. Two things, and it's not how your math is. It's not. So I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. And I think we all have to realize that there's a few things that are important. And if you can do those things, you can get in the trade and go as far as you want. And it pays pretty damn good too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like 12 formulas you can write on the back of your hand and make it.
Right.
I have, I don't know much about NLC. I haven't been around NLC very much, but what I can speak to is Lazy Q and how amazing that facility is. So when you talk about training and training the workforce, we've really done an amazing job there. Like you said, all of the people, right from the instructors to the upper level, it's just a bang up job. What I found when I was there, I came in and started with Energized Services, working at the Bare Hand Group, but found a home within the pre-apps. I really, really loved the youth, the young people. Mm-hmm. They're like sponges, and they're so willing to learn and wanting to learn for the most part, right? Not so much the linemen, the old crusty linemen that already know everything and you can't teach them anything, right? Yeah. Speak to bringing in the youth into this, like in training, right, getting them right from the start and what impact they can have.
I mean, I think one of the reasons I'm on this podcast is because I want the youth to see what's possible and also to hear from us. Like, social media is big. Like I was always against social media 10 years ago. I thought we're going to get on there and somebody's going to say something to a client and I'm going to, I think we've changed a lot. And for us, this helps get the youth in. We do stuff like we sponsor the National Rodeo Association. So that really helps us. And I think those local things we can do for softball teams are just the local communities to bring people out to want to be in the trade and say it's not the same trade as it was. I mean, you can come here in 2-3 years, you're making $100,000, and you also can make a lot more, and you've got a path, and you have pensions, and you have 401ks, and you're going to take care of your family. I don't think many people can do that. I mean, I had a son. One of them started out in working for private equity, and look, he could stay there and do a lot, but he could come here real quick and like get in the business and do very, very well. So we've got to offer those things and show the youth paths. They want to see paths these days to something different, and if we do that and we continue to, but it takes all of us to go out and say how good the trade is, and it's not terrible, and this sucks, and hate my job.
That's important.
I mean, the stats say 80% of the people don't like their job. I love my damn job. I get up every day. I can't wait to get in here. I think about it every day. I love it. I love what I do. I don't know anything else. I wouldn't know what the hell I was going to do. Hopefully one day I'll retire and go do something fun with the trade, but I'll always be in my heart. And I do think us being able to do what we love is fun. And I think people have to really think about what they want to do, but when they see it, and if you're from, like I said, the military really resonates, but it doesn't really matter. Sports, the team, the whole thing about getting something accomplished every day, and you can look back and see it. And I think about all the lines we build everywhere, and you look up and you go, wow, how do we do that? Like, and it's a lot of smart people, a lot of ingenuity, that can make stuff work.
Yeah.
And I'm real proud of it.
The military, I've been able to witness firsthand, just through social media, had people reach out. One guy comes to mind, the Air Force, was overseas. He reached out and said, hey, Ryan, I got a year left. I was trying to figure out what to do with my life after the military. He's like, I came across your podcast, came across your content, been following it. I think this would really fit for me. It seems like a good fit. So I introduced him to Madison, Jefferson, and the Veteran Electrical Entry Program with David Ball and the Lazy Q, and they ended up getting him in there.
Yep.
Come through the program. He's out, working as an apprentice in the field, and it's just like his whole life's changed. Like, he had no idea what he wanted to do. This job, this career fits, but it's getting that word out there to people that these opportunities exist. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's on us to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I always think about, like, when you go get your oil change, you see somebody working their butt off, and you go, how much money you make? I hire them all the time. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And, like, or waiting tables. Like, if you see someone really hustling, like, it don't matter. Like, to me, that's us saying we see someone that's working hard, and we want to better, and then let's see if we can better his life.
Yeah.
Or her life.
Yeah.
As an industry, we have to do that, or, it's hard because I think this used to be a generational trade where everyone generationally want to be in the trade, and you just kind of perpetuates. And a lot of it is like you didn't want your son or daughter in the trade. You go, oh no, we want them to go get an education. Okay, but how many people are educated that get in the trade? A lot. We have a lot more people with degrees today than we've ever had that want to get in line work.
Yeah.
And vice versa. But I think it doesn't matter if you have it or not, but it can't be like if you're out in the air and you go, I don't want my son to ever do this. I don't want my daughter to ever do this. I mean, I think it's a hell of a lot safer today. I think the upside of it's great. They get their education, income in the trade. It's even better. We got to like be proud of who we are and like what we've done and what the industry's done and just be proud of it. And I think as I see it turning, 10 years ago, I would say, today I see it turning.
Yep.
And I think as an industry and as a company, we just continue to do the things we've done and getting solar, wind, some of the things like that. It resonates with the youth. And I think all those things matter when you start to recruit or start to think about your career. We work with colleges. I sit on board of regents of a 5-state university system, 89,000 students. I talk to them all the time about trade. We sponsor, we do a lot of different things with them, but we'll have kids that get degreed in project management and they want to be in the trade. I think it's important to go to the field. I do. I think you need to spend time in the field, and the more you can spend, the more you're going to learn and the faster you'll move. So it's worth the time to get out there.
That's another great thing that Quanta can provide, that opportunity as well, is if you want to try, that's I talk about this actually quite a bit about how when we're kids, we're so willing to like try things, pick up a skateboard one day, go play baseball the next, drop it, go play football, whatever, and try. But as adults, we kind of let that go.
Yeah, for sure.
And as something like, I like to be a try. I'm like that type of person. We just try new things all the time, drop it. But so many people are scared to drop something. Like, since I got a degree, I have to stay with this thing. It's like, you don't. It's there. It's yours. You didn't lose it.
Yeah, that's right.
Go try something else.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got to lose?
I mean, I think that's how many businesses are built, is because failure or whatever. I mean, I go back and my dad would have never left the power company if it wasn't for a strike. He left on a strike, worked in a feed mill, and never went back.
There you go.
And you start to think about it. Well, I thought we were going to be, I didn't know. We didn't know. We were changing lights out in ball fields and doing all kinds of stuff to make ends meet. And I was on a strike, and he left. And so you go back and you go, well, how many times is trying something different or trying a new location or trying a new part of the trade? It's not, you just don't know what it'll lead you to.
Very cool. What does good leadership look like to you?
When people follow you.
Good point. Explain that a little bit.
I say it all the time. So I just think when you look behind you and if you're doing the right things, people want to be around you and they want to follow you. They'll go anywhere in the world you go. And to me at Quanta, can you lead if no one's behind you? I don't care what your title is. If you're a vice president of something and you left, would anyone go with you? And if they don't, why? Is it because of your leadership? So look, a path, you have to have good characteristics and care. People that lead are genuine, and you want to feel some genuineness and some heart. I think a big heart matters, and they're always good leaders because they lead with their hands or they lead on their heart. I mean, they lead with their heart, and they don't lead sometimes. You got to have wrong and right, and I never have once in my career blamed something on someone else. Just own it. And if you own the things, and ultimately anything that happens here wrong is on me. Like, that's the way it works. And
I think what you said earlier too about being willing to get in the mud, get dirty.
For sure.
It's important.
Yeah, and I think showing people a path, mentoring them, helping them. You want to help people every day and try to make their life easier. My kids are grown for the most part, and I know people under me have young ones, and it matters if I say, look, I'll take that. Go with your kids that day. I got this, because someone did that for me.
Yeah,
and those kind of characteristics will ultimately make people follow you. And so when I say follow you, it's because of the things you do. You pay people properly, and you don't make them come to you to ask you for something. You don't come to me and say, I need a raise. I'm already beat you to it.
Heck yeah.
I don't think we have anyone leave this company about money. It's more about something different. And because we're trying to beat you to it, and I always go back to a Gretzky saying and say, we're skating where the puck's going. If you're just skating to the puck, you're going to lose. You better go where it goes. And that goes with people too. You better get in front of them. Because some people want to be, I think everyone's different, and the way people think are different. And so you adapt. I adapt. I wake up and have to reinvent myself every day, because I'm adapting to something.
Heck yeah.
The world, the transition from coal, who knows what it is. But as long as you can adapt to it and don't lose who you are, I think you can lead.
I love the hockey reference. That's special, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, it is good. I met Gretzky one day.
Yeah.
When I was 9.
I've had the opportunity a few times. He's a great guy.
It was kind of funny. I actually, short side note, I was in a shopping mall. I was 9 years old. I was dressed head to toe in Vancouver Canucks gear. And Gretzky, playing for the LA Kings, was in town. He was selling eyeglasses, and if you bought some sunglasses, you got to stand in a line to meet him. There was 100 tickets or something. So my dad bought a pair of sunglasses. Well, I could stand in the line, and I had this stack of stuff for him to sign. And I get to the front, and the lady's like, "Oh, you can only take 2 things up there for him to sign, and don't touch them." And my dad's just like, "Go, just go, just go." So I just walked up there with this stack of shit. He signed everything, and I had my arm around him. It was good.
Yeah, he's a super guy.
Yeah, Gretzky was cool. Right from the crew level, if we scaled this down to right at the crew level, what's some advice for the young leaders, or the young people that want to be leaders, right at that crew level, foreman?
Yeah, I think listening is learn as much as you can learn. Listen. I think how you line your work out. Let me back up. Listen to the good things, and then recognize the bad things. And the more you can do that, the more you become confident. And once you become confident, you can do a hell of a lot more. And I do think it takes time. You got to remember, someone may be really smart and they may be 20 years old. They're not confident yet. And when you get confidence in someone, that leads to leadership. It leads to a lot of different things, and it takes a while some kids get in there and they're confident, and they're also the ones that get hurt.
Yeah. There's a difference between confidence and cocky.
It's out.
Yeah,
and it's a fine line. And I think those fine lines are, how do how do you learn when you're young, and how do you these crews, and crew makeup's important. And I know I might as well not even say it because I understand there's shortages, and don't yell at me and send me texts, and I get it, I understand. But we would like a better crew makeup, of course. Young, older, it would be great. But like today, we just have to adapt to what we have and really work at, trying to fill in the gaps with people and things. And, I think in general, learning on webcasts, learning on different things and reading and things like that are important. And if you want to move up, for sure, just taking all the knowledge that
I've seen Quanta recently, make some strides. I know you guys have been doing this for a while, but really seen recently making strides to better leadership in the company. And I'm assuming it's because of the scaling of the company's growing so fast, and it must be a struggle. What are some things that Quanta's doing to better the leadership?
I think, you go back and you say, well, how do we added like 4,000 in 3 months, 90 days. So you add 4,000 in 90 days and you go, well, how you do that? I don't know. I mean, I looked at it myself and I said, well, you start every operating unit's adding 100 here, 200 there, 3, it just adds up. But in saying that, if you don't have leadership, you don't have it really goes bottom up, honestly. It's kind of bottom up leadership, but at the top you understand what it takes at the bottom, and so it's vice versa. But creating that good path and good mentorships, apprentice programs, all those things, it just adds up to the ability to add. And you've seen us regionalize. We were very much like at the operating unit. That's how it was led for a long time, and we felt like I moved out of the COO role, and when I did that, I thought, well, in order to stay close to it, I needed to have a regional structure so I could fill it. And I wanted to keep my hands on the pulse of it because I think it's important. And so that created a regional structure, and now the structure just keeps on building. And that should allow us to get closer to the client, but also to our people, and make sure that we're giving them opportunities to not only at their local level, but to move up through the organization. And you've seen that expansion. I mean, I think we're very young. I'm 53. Hell, I'm old. Like, I used to be the youngest guy in the room for 10 years. Now I'm old. And like, I love it. I think that vibrance, and you can feel it in this organization. They're young, they're ready to go. And Reggie, Carl, the people that are under me, they're just doing a fantastic job on the electric side or renewable side, same thing. And it's just the culmination of a really good family that's pulling together and pulling that rope the same way. No fighting internally. Well, a little bit. I call it healthy tension.
Yeah.
Got a little healthy tension running around. It's okay.
It's family.
But, taking care of each other, I see it. It's just getting stronger and stronger. I like it.
If I asked any of the grades that have worked with you in the past, if I asked them, what is Duke good at, what would you say?
That's a great question. Probably recognizing people and where they're at in life, and if something's going on, I think I recognize when someone's hurting. I recognize when they're doing great, and I would tell you that I think it's really important, like to be able to see that coming. And also, like I said, you got to skate where they're going and stay in front of them. I mean, we have all walks of life, and we got guys from Harvard and guys who are in prison. I treat them all the same. My dad always said, you treat the janitor like you treat the CEO. The janitor might be the CEO one day.
Yeah.
I've seen that come true many times.
Your classic example.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And so I just think you treat everyone the same. And a funny story, we were in another building, and the guy that shined shoes, Mr. P, he's an older man, had cancer, and I always befriended him. And so when we moved this building, he comes over here once a week. And so we help him. And he goes back over there and tells everybody how great we are. And we didn't even try to do it. No, I'll have people come in here and say, hey, this guy, so I do. It matters. And I think they would say, probably unfair. Look, I have a day. And accountability to yourself and to the people, I think holding people accountable matters too. And whether you think I'm wrong or right sometimes, it's okay. I feel like I'm going to give you everything I got every day in this company, everything I got every day. And that's the expectation. And the people that work for me know it. I do, when someone comes to work, we don't really give them a roadmap either. So it's a tough company to, as you've probably seen, to get around. And like, you have to be able to see different things and figure out how to get, you don't get a 1 to 10 color by number. Like, you go, here's 1 and here's 10, get there. Like, but entrepreneurs and people who want to move, they love that. Give me a white, look at the podcast.
Yep.
Give me a white sheet of paper, look what can happen.
Yep.
It's fun. Look at this thing.
It is fun. Yeah,
like,
it's really fun.
We don't tell you what to do. We don't tell you what to say. I didn't know what question you're going to ask me. I don't care. I can answer every one of them.
That's great.
And so it's just a white sheet of paper. And like, I think we can continue. That's why the company's where it's at.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And probably a lot of people could say the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, make a difference.
30,000 foot view. What's your current plan? What are you executing on right now?
We see the transition, going from fossil fuel, moving into, renewable state. I do think electric vehicles will penetrate deep into these systems. Everybody's debating on how much load there'll be, but look, you can easily say it's going to double. I mean, I saw Elon the other day on something that said it's going to triple. You start tripling load, and the transmission systems, your distribution systems, you have a significant amount of rebuild, if not a complete rebuild, on what's going on when you start loading up EV and temperatures going up 2-3 degrees. You start putting that in your system planning, which I don't even know how you system plan these days, but do your best. We should look good for the next 20, 30 years, at a minimum, probably 50. So that said, you have a good pathway. We can train. We can do a lot of different things against that transition. And the company continues to, anything that involves craft, and we can put engineering against it or technology against it. But that craft has to be there from a nucleus, and it allows us to deliver. You'll see more constructability type engineering than you will. I always go back and say engineering is about 10% of any project. And they were on top of us for I don't know how long. Got old, right? I think now engineering can work for us as well, and we're at parity.
Yeah.
So I do think construction-led type engineering is important. We got to deliver on the other side, but when you get craft in the room and you start talking about how do we engineer something, they got a hell of a lot to offer, and we ought to take advantage.
That's always been the great divide. At least when I was coming through,
Yeah,
probably
sure.
the same for yourself. Like, great divide between engineer and craft.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're trying to try to put that together today, and I think all the things that we're doing, whether it be helicopters, Chinooks, I think our Chinook program will end up being something that we'll look back on, and the guys at PJ have done just such a fantastic job of building that, and obviously we got behind it, but I think the ingenuity, the things that we can do with our hands, and value what people bring from the field will allow us to keep moving the company forward and allow our people to grow.
So for that same sort of 30,000 foot view, for that that bottom level, I would say bottom level, just boots on the ground, guy or girl out there that doesn't get insight into the direction of the future of this industry or the industries we're involved in, what does kind of each one look like that we're kind of involved in? What's the future look like for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it doesn't matter whether you're in telecom or line work, industrial business, almost all of our leaders really started in the field. Well, they did. I mean, they started in the field, and every single venue, every single president, vice president, even most of the ownership started somewhere in the field. Even, there was 30 plus family members of Blattner that had started in the field. I mean, it's a $2 billion plus organization. And I think that's the key to it, is make sure that we value that, continue to say, it doesn't matter where you start here, it's where you can go. And learning those aspects and making sure that we continue to move we're investing in the service lines that we serve today. We can serve a lot more. I do believe we will. I know we will. Supply chain's a big problem. Now you'll see us move into supply chain and go more vertical within the space. When I say that, I mean like there's shortages of things that are out there that really impact our ability to go and have crews working because you don't have poles that day. And we have to solve those things. If no one else will, we will. I don't believe that you'll see China's supply last forever. I think that's going to be a problem, and especially in your transformers, things like that, where you'll see more U.S.-based manufacturing come in. You're seeing it now with chips and all kinds of different things. This grid's got to hold, and we've got to think through all those things. So the company will move into spaces that people may say, well, why are you doing that? They said that when we bought a college too. They said, why did you buy a college? Like, I literally got killed for buying NLC like every day. And I look back on it and go, now what? And it was the right thing, and we'll continue to try to look at those things to make sure that we keep people employed and growing the company and the people underneath us.
For that young person out there that's wondering about a goal or a direction, what's a good direction for them to go right now?
I don't think there's a bad one. I mean, if you can work with your hands and you're in the trade, I think the business around battery penetration, so your distribution systems are going to continue to degrade. All your substation designs, all your, when you go back into testing and your field techs and everything, you continue to be in high demand. I don't see a path in the places that we're at where you're going to see an abundance of anything at this point. I don't. I do think AI, when it comes in and you start ChatGPT, I don't know if you've ever seen that stuff, but holy cow. I wrote my wife something on that thing, and I couldn't even send it to her. It sounded so good.
It's interesting.
That's not me. But like, I do think that thing and the way that it's going to, some engineering will be done like that. I don't think it takes away from anything. If you can build something with your hands and you understand that you're probably going to be better off than people that write things every day, because it certainly will learn. And it's almost scary, really, honestly. I don't know where I sit on it yet. I'm thinking through it, but I don't want it to degrade the middle class of this country, because the countries that don't have a middle class, it's bad. It never ends well. And so I do think we have to have a good approach to it and make sure that in the line trade and in welders, anything that we're doing, we stay in front of that and make sure that we're teaching our people the things that it can do, so they're smarter than the machine. And I do want to stay smarter and stay ahead of the machines, for sure.
Or know how to use it, use it to their benefit. Yeah. And I've heard it, I don't know if this is the way it'll be or if this is too dumbed down, but I've heard it referenced as like the tractor.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
The tractor came in and everyone said, hey, we're going to lose our jobs, but it just made you shift and do different things in different ways. And I'm kind of hoping it's the same way.
Yeah, I think so.
Who knows? It's still kind of scary.
But we're looking at it as a economy. I went to Boston Dynamics, and the things that they're doing there, I was really amazed. And we came out of there and we did a kind of a partnership with them to buy 4 or 5 of those spot dogs and robots. I'm not going to call them dog, but so what are we going to do with them? I don't know yet, but we're going to put a couple out of Lazy Q and start working at it and say what's applicable.
That's awesome.
So just really what are we getting in gear that we shouldn't be getting in? Can we be safer? Can we put a camera on it? What can we do? And when you think about it from their standpoint, they're just looking at it they don't know. They just know they just created something. Now we can create the things that it can do. And we'll stay in front of that. As a company, I want to make sure that we're ahead, not behind.
That's neat. That's neat, using it for learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It's really important to me that we have a lot of knowledge that, I don't care if you went to MIT, we still got a ton of knowledge, and we can help, and we can be just as much as important as they are in the end. And so just balancing all those things as a company is really important.
What keeps you up at night?
Wow. Safety always. I worry about our men and women in the field probably more than anything. But in general, the company, what I see as arrogance will always get you. and I want to make sure we stay humble and we do good things and we're good. I was at Prefert with Bill Gates and Livestock, and I was talking to Mr. Prefert, and he said, "Just be good." I agree. Just be good. And I think as long as we keep that in our heart, and the company stays good to our people and ourselves, and we'll be fine. But I worry generationally that we continue to build what we've done and not let people down, and make sure that we honor the toughness that it was while we continue to grow farther up. And that's a balance these days. Holy cow. And staying in front, making sure that as a company we're well respected, and that we provide opportunity for the next generation, kids, grandkids.
Yeah.
I just had a grandkid. He's 4 months.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's probably the coolest thing in my life. Is now I can give him back to my son, but that'll be fun for me. So just watching generationally us continue to evolve, both as a family and as a company, it's something that provides those opportunities.
How much thought do you give to legacy, and what does yours look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everything. The more I can talk about the things that have impacted me, and the things that we've done wrong and right. I ain't wrong too. I think it's more important to talk about what you're doing wrong, honestly. I do. And, I can't say I'm proud of everything I've done. I've drank too much and many times, and I've done things I'm not proud of. But I will say I've done a lot right too. And just balancing that and making sure the youth that we teach them properly. And I look back at my kids, and we'll see how they turn out. If they turn out better than me, then I'm really happy. I hope so. I know I've taught them wrong from right, and that is really the company too. Like, what is it going to look like with the next people? And did I do a good job mentoring the people under me? And did I teach them everything I know? And did they listen? Because you can teach all day. Are they listening? I don't know. Like, that's the key. Are they listening to you when you're talking? Because if you talk too much, they're not listening. And I short burst of anything. Most people these days have ADD, and they just don't listen much. And I don't blame them. I tune out too. So you got to be, you got to talk, and you got to have something that people want to hear. And that legacy that you leave behind is teaching all those things and making sure that the people underneath you or your family, that you've instilled in them the proper, ways to get ahead. And it's everything. I mean, what I do, hell, I'm going to die, and I'm not going to know, but I hope to God, everything that I've done and taught, it resonates, and, the company continues to build off what it's done in my family too. So I value that probably the most out of anything, because I see them getting married. I see all my sons, they work as hard as I work, and they're better than me. I know they are. What are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
It's up to them. I mean, they have every opportunity in the world. Just like, everyone's family. Like, you want to give them the best path forward. Wrong or right.
Yeah. Yeah, wrong or right. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because what's unique and what's cool is, you don't know what comes out of that. You don't know what's wrong or right.
Nah.
So you could call them wrong, but then the next generation, they did something to make the next generation right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's cool.
So, I mean, when you face death, it harms my wife, and I was thinking about it. I've thought about it for a long time, and I was just looking at her, and I was going, shit, I'm gonna die. And what did I do? What did I leave enough behind? And so I would say anyone that's faced death, you really realize how important what you leave behind is. And so if I could say one thing, think about what you're doing every day, and that apprentice that you're teaching, when you go up in the air and you decide you don't need a safety, and you decide you don't need a ground because you're that good, you just taught the guy that didn't something wrong. And when he goes up and does it, and he dies, think about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're leaving behind. I'm not wrong. And so I think I look at it like that, and what I'm doing here is the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it happen,
Yeah.
and I've just seen it. And it's someone taught someone wrong. It's easy to do because you're that good. You're that good. And
what I don't get is like the blatant, like almost like self-disrespect for that decision that you're making. Like you don't take that decision that you're making at a high enough weight or regard. You just make it. You just do it. You just, you don't need to clip in. You don't need to do this. You just go ahead and move that phase with your hand. The bucket's rated for it. It's like you've seen it all, but
it's not about you, right? It's not about like you're going to get away with it.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, you're going to
saw it.
Who saw it?
Yeah. It's that
And what did they
sponge on
learn
the
that day?
ground. Saw you do that. Now figures he can do it, or she can do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, do you let your kids stick your finger in a light socket?
No.
I mean, come on.
I've got a couple good stories about that. But
Well, I mean, we all, but you made a plastic screwdriver, and then they'll stick the metal one in. Like, I mean, we owe it to ourselves and really generationally into this trade to get it right. And I would say, at the highest leadership of the unions and the highest leadership of all of our trades, they believe that. I'm 100%. I talk to them all the time. They believe that is. I've never had an argument about us being safer ever.
How can you argue that? Do you want to be the person on the other side of that argument?
Yeah. So those things, these decisions that we make today are really about 10 years from now, what's going to happen.
I love it. Okay, couple lighter questions just to finish this off.
For sure, yeah.
These are a couple questions that I kind of ask everybody. So answer them in one word or one sentence or one paragraph, whatever you want. So if you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what's a piece of advice you'd give them?
Slow down, value my family a little more. When I was young, I think I thought I had to get everything today, and I didn't put the time in, probably until I had cancer, to my family. And I would say value that family time as much as possible.
So this question probably ties into that then. This industry, speaking for the Powerline industry, but probably all trades are the same. They're notoriously hard on families. What's some advice to managing your family in the industry like this?
Yeah, a phone call once a day matters. Text your kids matters. Stay in touch. FaceTime. I think that's the beauty of the internet and some of the things we can do with social media is you can stay in touch. And the more you stay in touch, the stronger your family is. And I think just make sure that you lean on people that you need to lean on, and that's what families are for, even your crew, even your people. So in hard times, you lean back and give back. And there's a great book called The Go-Giver, and I always think about it a lot. It's like the more you give, you get back 3 times. So just kind of live my life by that. And I think the more you can give, you'll get it back. And then that goes with family and everything else.
What's most valuable tool? I ask linemen. So what's most valuable tool in a lineman's kit or a tradesman's kit?
And safety. Yeah, I mean, I think anything you can do around safety is paramount.
Self-study, reading books, listening to podcasts. Any recommendations?
I mean, I think that, you got your trades with lineman handbook, those kind of things I think are really important. They're awesome. There's great. I just said The Go-Giver. I think it's a super book. I would tell everybody, every sport, anybody, any kid that comes to you, read it. It's a short book. You'll love it. I mean, I think it teaches you how to give back. And I think you got to get back to the trade. And if you're gonna be in the trade, you got to get back to the trade.
Yeah.
If we all do that, it's that old saying, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. All of a sudden, you got something. And if you give back, you'll get it. You'll reap it. Rewards for days.
Best piece of advice you're ever given?
Work hard. I mean, the amount of work you put into something is what you get out of it. And I think there's a lot of people smarter than me. I've not seen one that'll outwork me. So,
amazing.
I mean, I live by it every day. And I think you have to, I always had to work harder than the next guy, no matter what it was. And if you're Tiger Woods or you're Tom Brady, I saw a deal the other day about Brady. He was talking to Sanders' kid, and he said, quit worrying about driving that car and get your ass in the film room. I mean, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, people have talents and they're very, very smart and they can do a lot of great things, but if you don't put the work in, you're not going anywhere.
Love it. Oh, thanks, Duke.
Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunities, and I look forward to this. Thanks
I
for
love what you're doing, Ron. I think you'll make a difference in this trade and everything that we're trying to accomplish. Certainly having your voice out there, and I watch the podcast all the time. I think it's fantastic, not only for the trade, but just in general in life. And not anything we can do like this. We're happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope you got a ton of value and you really enjoyed that conversation with Duke Austin. I know I got tons out of it, tons of takeaways from it, and really a good look into the future of our industry. So if you could ask for one favor from you guys, it's go to the YouTube channel, go to whatever audio podcast platform you listen to this podcast on, and make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. 5-star rating would be dope. All right, guys, I appreciate you. Play safe. Peace.